Thank you all. Thank you, panelists, for coming along and sharing your experiences about Monday's Matter. I think it's really helpful purely just because I can talk about the program however much I like until I'm blue in the face. But of course, I'm not the one having the lived experience of it that you guys have. And so when this idea came up to sort of do this open house, and I quite like even the name open house, and I reached out and you guys were so willing to come on and share the good, the bad, the ugly, not all of it, obviously, because we don't have all day. I don't want to keep you on all day, but just your experiences. So this is really awesome. So can we just kick off? And so we'll kick off. I'll kick off with a few questions that I've sort of that I threw to you guys earlier. I've also got some submitted questions from people who aren't on the call yet. They may come in, I'm not sure. And then also just, general, how it'll roll, how it will roll. But what I will do is just start off with some quick introductions, and I'd love for you to just say who you are and also what your main issue or challenge was that led you to the program. And then as we are just going along, if anyone who is just listening in has any questions for either the participants or me, absolutely just pop in the chat and we can address them as we go along. So Ketna, can we sort of start with you? You're just at the top of my screen.
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Ketna. I guess my main issue has been with my weight having been fluctuating over the years. I've had hypothyroidism since my early 30s, and I've kind of struggled to lose weight or keep it off, and went on and on. And I came across Mickey when Mickey did a webinar at one of the gym that I had recently joined. And I said, oh, well, why not? Might just give it a go. And I kind of found it very liberating. And I think the way, what I found was that it changed how you think about things, not just food, but everything. And I found that absolutely very helpful for me in general. And so I'm very happy and pleased, because it's not just about the weight, it is about being able to do things that I was finding difficult, and now I'm doing those things without any difficulty. And I think it is just those little things which gives you a lot of happiness, and it has been very exhilarating to achieve those goals.
Ketna, that's awesome. And you mentioned you've had hypothyroidism. Is that well managed through medication for you?
Yes, it has always been. You do the blood test and they all look fine and normal, but you struggle, and I don't know. But I have found that weight loss is not just about exercise. I think it is a lot to do with what we eat and so I think it's been a learning curve.
Yeah. Okay. And was it were you concerned coming in because you had hypothyroidism? Because I actually have a lot of people sort of contact me, and as long as there's medication, then actually, it doesn't appear to be a problem. But I'm curious as to how you felt about it.
I don't know. I've struggled with it, and I've been very active all along. I've been a runner since my early mid 30s, and I've been very active. Used to regularly go to the gym. It's not just about, as I said, exercise. I think it had to do something with how my body's addressing the amount of carbs that I consumed. And being an Indian, my diet was always very high on carbs. And it is a lifestyle change, and it is hard, but it is rewarding as well.
Nice one. And one final question, actually, Ketna, because I know that you and I have talked about this, is obviously with that and with the types of foods you would normally eat, and then going along to your parent-in-laws and stuff like that. Like, how are you finding that now, like the several months in?
I still struggle, I should say. I'm not 100% foolproof person. But that's okay. I don't think I should beat myself up about having one or two dinner, which is not to the standard. It doesn't mean that, like, the rest of the time I can still do what I want to do. So I am a bit more forgiving to myself.
That's great to hear, Ketna. Nice one. Thank you. How about you, Fran?
So I think I signed up for the very first Monday's Matter and possibly made it to lunchtime on day 2 and abandoned it. And yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of weight to lose, but I had some weight that I wasn't that happy with. And then so I lost about 6 kgs doing some random protein focused thing that some PT at the gym gave me. So that kind of turned my mind to the protein and the kind of lower carb way of doing it. And then I also was a runner, so I'd always kept my weight under control by running, and then I lost the ability to run through a whole series of injuries and surgeries that I never got back. So I was lying on the couch having had hamstring surgery, I think, in around about 2022, or it might have even been spinal surgery. I can't remember which one it was. And Monday's Matter came up again. And so I signed up, and at that stage was able to do absolutely no exercise at all, but lost those other 6 kilos just in that 8-week period. So for me, that's kind of what kickstarted it. And I've put some of it back on again in that time. And then I've lost it again. So I've signed up for the next one as well. I've probably got about 3 to lose now. So for me, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, nice one, Fran. You're active now, right? You're sort of back at it?
I am active, but I still can't run.
Yeah.
So running is definitely gone for me. So I go to the gym. I do a couple of boot camps. I do lots of walking, like power walking and stuff like that. It's for me, the exercise is about finding what I don't get injured, but I can get injured incredibly easily. My tendons are just, thanks perimenopause, that's what that's been the major impact on me, has been kind of connective tissue. So I tend to pull tendons and things very easily, and they take a very long time to heal.
Yeah, they do, Fran. And it's interesting, like your experience of losing weight, then gaining a little bit of weight, then sort of refocusing and losing weight again. Like, I'm not sure how this will sound, but I think we sort of need to normalize that just a little bit more than what it is. You know, people talk about yo-yo dieting, which in my mind is actually quite different from what you've just sort of said. And this is what I talk about this quite a bit, in that you'll always have seasons of your life when you're able to really prioritize your diet and your exercise and your training and all of that stuff. But we can't, I mean, very few people have it dialed in for the rest of their lives. And I think often we beat ourselves up for not being able to adhere to things that we know make us feel good or make us look a certain way or whatever. Yo-yo dieting to me is, and not just me, but if you look at it in terms of literature, as geeky as that sounds, it's more that sort of really crash, like you lose 20 to 30 kilos and then you absolutely like rebound back up and then some, which is quite different from life intervenes as life does. You gain a few kilos and then you just refocus and resettle in. So I'm pretty pleased that you're back in, Fran, for this round. I think it's a perfect time of year actually to do it. Because 3 kilos it's neither here nor there for some people, but I know that if it's you personally, it is actually, it is something that you're wanting to focus on, which is great.
Yeah. We went to Spain last year and I wasn't not going to eat all of the amazing food that was on offer. I just haven't quite got back to where I was when I left. So, yeah, that's fine. And certainly one thing that this program's taught me is it's just food. Don't catastrophize it. Just, eat it, enjoy it, move on. And don't spend the next day, whatever, feeling guilty about what you had the day before. Just move on.
Nice one, Fran. Jo.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I joined up mainly because I was going through perimenopause, and I'd had a lifetime of being able to eat what I wanted. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't shift weight. And also I noticed that sort of blood works, lipid profile was changing. I noticed I was getting a bit of inflammation. My mum has arthritis, and I was thinking, oh, am I getting arthritis in my hands? And I just really wasn't happy where my health was. And I knew my diet wasn't serving me any longer of how I used to eat. Also, I've come from that generation where protein was never really a big thing. And I'd started doing the weight training. And I knew in theory I needed more protein, but for me that was like throwing in an extra egg here or there, and I just wasn't getting that amount that I needed to. And Mickey, I knew of you, I knew you were really well researched and well regarded, and so I actually didn't know about Monday Matters. I just literally looked you up thinking, okay, I need to book in, I need someone to kind of help guide me, and then I saw the Monday Matters program, and that's when I kind of went, oh, that looks really interesting, and that's when I kind of signed up. Also, my mum has osteoporosis, so I was like, protein is really key. I have to get this in, and I need a program just so I don't have to think about it and just to learn to eat in a different way. So that's how I kind of got involved in the program.
Nice one, Jo. And what you said about sort of knowing the importance of protein and chucking an extra egg in the mix, etc. That's really common. I feel like anyone who's sort of been through the program once or more, oftentimes one of the first reactions, one of the things I hear all the time in the accelerated program is, I cannot believe I need to eat this much protein.
Yeah.
Is this what it is? Because I think we have normalized smaller amounts, but also out of everything you see on social media, the one nutrient that gets the most sort of pushback is protein all of the time. Like there's just a lot of I guess negative press. Maybe it's because for a while before there was a lot of, I don't know, positive press. But also I do know that what I see is a bubble. I have my own sort of little social media ecosystem. I'm not sure what it's like for you guys, whether you guys see that as well. And Jo, with changing what you did you notice, like, did you find it easy? Did you find it challenging to sort of initially, can you remember your sort of initial thoughts?
It felt like a full-time job eating the protein. I was like, oh my God, this is so much. So at first it really was, I was like, I've been just sold this lie about the protein in it should have been like that. I should have been having this sort of diet earlier on and it wouldn't be such a big deal, but it was such a change for me that it did feel like a lot of hard work. But the benefits I got from it really quickly, I couldn't unlearn. Once I knew how different my body was, it's like, well, I can't go back. So for instance, with my weight training, I was stuck on a weight, and I remember just within a couple of weeks of getting that protein in, just lifting this weight that I've been struggling with really easily. Like I literally laughed at how easy it was. My DOMS I was getting DOMS for like 4 days. I'd be in pain, and it like cut it in half. And I was like, this is the building block. My body needs this. So yes, it was hard, and it probably mentally for me, just with how I've always had a very vegetarian type diet, lots of lentils and things like that. So I ate and I made sure I had lots of fish and chicken, and that's sort of how I went with the diet. So it is always going to be reframing for me, and not a natural habit to eat the protein like that. But by coming back and doing your program, it helps really normalize it. It's almost like it helps reframe it for me. And things like in the recipes you had egg whites, and I remember thinking, oh my God, that is disgusting. I thought, okay, you just have to be open to this experience. And as soon as I tried them, like I have them every day, I love them, they're stable. And so trying new recipes, I realized how narrow I was with my eating as well. So it has really challenged me, because often, I don't like change when it comes to food, but it's actually opened up to a more broader way of eating. And my blood works really improved, energy, hormone balance. This might be a bit too much information, but we're all ladies here, but with the perimenopause, I noticed my periods had, I think I'd almost stopped. And then all of a sudden with the protein back, and I was getting regular periods again. And the pain in my hands had gone. So a lot of inflammation had sort of gone. So yeah, I just, how good I felt. I was like, no, you have to keep this up. This is like a lifetime thing.
Yeah, nice one, Jo. And never too much information here, for sure. And what you've just described, I often describe those types of experiences that people report to me. It's really nice to hear, that from the horse's mouth, really. Yeah. Thank you, Jo.
You're welcome.
Jen.
Kia ora, hi. I've been in Monday's Matter for a very long time, and I used to feel like I'd failed because I would come back for repeat programs, but then I just realized I was, like, I tell my students, I teach tuition, I tell my students, you have to engage with something, 15 to 20 times before it sticks. So that's kind of how I view myself at the moment. But Miki, I think I came to you during COVID, because I remember making that bread and going, what the heck is this stuff like? And no disrespect to you, but we ended up chopping it up and putting it in a curry. And I have actually never made it again. But anyway, I think I came to you because I had done one Ironman, and I was training for my second, and I went to see a nutritionist in Christchurch. I can't remember what he called himself. And like, he was degree qualified and all the rest of it. And then he gave me a list of what I needed to eat, like pre and post training. And it was things like baked beans, spaghetti on toast, crumpets. And like, I just knew that stuff would like dump my blood, like, it would feel like it would dump my blood sugars. I knew that I would be hungry half an hour later, and I failed to see how I could. I didn't realize at the time, but I was probably right in the middle of perimenopause. I failed to see how that was going to sustain me for like long sessions and stuff like that. And I literally just did a Google search, and I think Jo or Fran, somebody mentioned this, that like you were really science-based, like you'd done the research and going, this is why protein works. So I did Monday's Matter. I think over a couple of programs I lost about 8 to 10 kilos, and I kept it off probably for maybe like sort of 5 years. And then it wasn't until I sort of hit a couple of years post menopause that I've started to put weight back on, and here I am again. But it really laid the foundations for me for going, okay, like you said, Jo, like feel really good on protein. I've got osteopenia, I've got a bit of osteoarthritis, but I don't have the pain when I really focus on my diet and front load the protein. And I think I said to you, Miki, the other day that, each time I do Monday's Matter, I don't have to go out and buy what I considered all the weird stuff at the start. Like, I'm going, what is this stuff? Because I already have it, and we don't eat a lot of processed food usually. So I already have the tools there. And sometimes actually just doing the program again is around someone else has taken the thought out of what's for dinner, and just, going back to the basics, cutting out the snacks, actually, really focusing on the protein, especially for me at lunchtime, so that I'm not in the pantry at 4 or 5 o'clock wanting to eat everything. Yeah.
Nice one, Jen. And it is funny what you say about the protein sparing bread. That's the protein sparing modified fast bread. It's very divisive. Hands up if you actually like it.
Never made it.
Oh, Kathy. Fran, you have it. Oh, so it was.
I can't remember.
It was a feature of the earlier programs, and then like probably 60% of people like, this is polystyrene, I cannot eat it. Like a little bit like what Jen said, whereas it's a regular feature of my diet. It's essentially, it's protein powder and egg whites, and possibly you couldn't get it sort of sounds a little bit like meringue, and I'm sure you could almost make it as such, and it doesn't have to taste like polystyrene. And I use it as a bit of a smoothie addition to sort of, it's like eating a smoothie essentially, but people don't like it at all, just the way that Jen said. And I would say that was probably as weird as the food gets, but I might be wrong as well, because I think I've probably normalized some of the things which I'm like, well, that's just sort of normal. I love the way, Jo, that you said as well, that you just have to open your mind to trying different things. Like a lot of people do come into the program and they're like, Oh, but I still just eat my Greek yogurt blueberry bowl for breakfast, which in of itself is totally fine. But often when people sort of report what they're eating, it's like 200 calories. And yeah, they're getting through to lunch. This is on every day of the week, but they're wondering why, like Jen mentioned, they're sort of in the pantry at about 4 or 5 o'clock, like starving, and they're sort of really falling down. And the one last thing I'll say, Jen, actually, because I'm like you, repetition of behaviors, of hearing different information is just so helpful, because we really are unraveling decades of doing things, of, you know, of the so much of our behaviors around food, about how we think about ourselves around not just food, but around everything, you know, and the sort of the self-talk of we're good or we're bad. Like that stuff is so ingrained for most people. It really is almost like you spend half your life acting a certain way, and then the other half of your life you're trying to reorient how you think, and you get there. It takes years, but all these things are such work-ons all of the time.
And I don't know if anyone else here, like before I came to you, Mickey, I was like, I'd gone down the Weight Watchers route, and it's so, like when I look back now, it's so low calorie, but it was really ingrained in my mind about the point system. Like I've forgotten all about it now, but because food's just food, but it's so ingrained, and it took a long time to get out of that habit. Like, oh, I can eat that, if that makes sense. And I think, but people coming into Mondays Matter, I often see people going, well, can I swap this for this? And I'm like, just give it a go. Like my advice to anyone doing Mondays Matter is to eat what's on the menu, because I eat quite differently now, and there's lots of things in there that I'm like, yeah, nah, but there's loads of stuff in there that I'm like, I would never have eaten that. I would never have done, like, Mickey, like I know you're a fan of tray bakes, and that's become like a staple in our house where literally everything goes in the same pan. Here's dinner. And my children, like who are all now like young adults, that's how they eat, because I didn't change the menu, because I thought, if this is good for me, yep, I'll add in a few extra carbs like rice and stuff, if but I think a really key thing to doing Mondays Matter is to eat what's on the menu and give it a go.
That's great advice, Jen. And I did have a question. Someone asked about, whether you have to be a great cook to to do the program. I mean, my instinct is no, because I'm not, and
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm so simple. And in fact, if you're not a good cook, it's a great program.
Yeah.
Because it simplifies everything.
Yeah, and also it's people go, oh, I'm too busy, but actually, like, we're a really busy family. I had 4 boys through our house, and it works. And you just, as long as you do the prep on the Sunday, and we never had leftovers. I'm not a fan of leftovers anyway, but I would just recook the same thing again, if that makes sense. So
yeah, nice. Nice one, Jen. Thank you. Kathy, hi.
Hi there, everybody. Yep, I was one of these yo-yo dieters, tried everything, the Weight Watchers, you name it. And I've been running for 40 years. So everything that you learn about running is you've got to go carbohydrate. And then I've known Mickey for a long time. So I also did the research on Mondays Matters and decided that this was the route I wanted to go, and did one of your webinars. I think I did my first plan in September 22 or 23, and I lost about 8 kilos. I've never been drastically overweight, but with all the exercise I did, I thought I should have weighed a whole lot less than I did. I'm also somebody who's never ever gonna have any problems with eating, because I really enjoy my food. So the protein for me was just absolutely amazing, because I didn't get hungry. I'm an absolute chocoholic, but I found I wasn't craving chocolate, and I find that if I slip off the wagon and I start having carbohydrates, the craving for chocolate comes back. So it's really worked for me. And one of the big things that I found was my running just improved. My times just got better without even actually doing any additional work. I just found I'm 65, and I found I was going faster now than I was when I was 40, and I just felt so good. The the big things that I learned from it was I don't beat myself up if I fall off the plan. I do get a bit sort of kind of, God, why have you done this? But I don't get completely stressed about it and sort of neurotic about the whole thing. I just go, I've been on holiday, I've had an amazing holiday, come back, jump, get back on the wagon. I know there's no wagon, but, just that kind of mindfulness about what I'm eating. I've also stopped the whole thing of good food, bad food. It's food. And if I feel like we're going away for an event or something, and I feel like having a pie after the event, I'm going to have it. And I'm not, as I say, going to beat myself up about that. I have found with the program, initially when I did the first one, I stuck to everything to the T, which is probably why I lost the weight. And I kept it off for probably 2.5 years until I went on holiday. And then I put on about 2-3 kilos. What I have enjoyed more though is having the food that has been easy and simple for me to do. So I do a lot of the breakfast bakes. So I do the coconut one, I do the chocolate oats one, and those are kind of like my regulars. And probably I'm a bit of a boring eater, but I just like during the week to know that I make it on a Sunday and I've got it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's sorted. And the weekend I'm a little bit more lax about what I eat. But I always try to stick to the high protein. When I start eating carbs again, I can actually feel my system getting quite sluggish, and I quickly sort of change and try and get back onto the high protein. And then for dinners and lunches, I often do, if I've cooked a dinner at night, because my husband eats, I'm very lucky, he eats exactly what I'm eating. So if I cook dinner at night, then next day's lunch will be the leftovers from the night before. But again, I find I've got my favorites and I cook those just because life's busy and it works for me. I love the accelerated program. I find with doing 2 days of PSMF per week, if I do it regularly and I stick to it, the weight just falls off, and I can. It's that whole mental process of thinking about what you're doing, and I find I don't lose energy. I sleep better, so it's just really worked for me on so many levels.
Nice one, Kathy. How do you balance the carbs around training? Like, do you have because obviously in normal, I say obviously, but what I'm hearing in normal life for you sort of dumps your energy quite a bit. So how do you balance the training with your marathons?
Well, interestingly, before I used to run a marathon, before I did this, I used to have like oats or toast or whatever for breakfast. Now I have a protein smoothie with banana and powdered peanut butter. And honestly, it works. If I'm doing a run in the mornings, I will have a banana or a small protein shake before I go out. If it's anything under an hour, I don't normally bother. But if it's anything over an hour, I will have a protein shake with banana. And if it's going to be sort of longer, like 90 minutes or whatever, I'll put in the powdered peanut butter as well. So that's kind of how I train now.
Yeah, nice one, Kathy. And what you say about I think you said something like, it sounds a bit boring, but I'm doing the same meals on repeat. I think almost everyone does the same meals on repeat. And when people come into the program and they're looking for variety, well, they're like, oh, but what am I going to have on Tuesday? Because I had that on Monday, for example. But if they think about their usual diet, someone will have Weet-Bix 5 mornings of the week. That's sort of the same breakfast 5 mornings of the week. It's funny how we perceive our diet versus actually what our diet is. I don't know, in my experience.
Well, I just absolutely love the bakes for breakfast because they're in the fridge. I heat it up in the microwave, 60 seconds, put a little bit of yogurt on it and maybe a few berries or something, or sugar-free jam if I feel like I need something sweet. And I just don't get cravings that I've got to eat something 10 o'clock, like my front teeth are stuck in the fridge, because that isn't how I feel anymore. I feel like I'm full and I've had enough to eat. And then lunchtime, I don't get the 3:30itis anymore either, where I feel like I've, got to have something to eat. And I eat, like, my lunchtime protein will be about 160 grams of chicken or something that we've had, and then a bit of salad or something like that. And I don't get those big hunger cravings. But if if the carbohydrates sneak back in, bet your bottom dollar, those cravings kick back in again.
Yeah, and I mean, as we age, we do lose that carbohydrate tolerance. And so it is much better for people to sort of engineer their carbohydrate around their training, actually, but not to the extent where you're chugging. So to Jen's point earlier, where you're chugging down, 100 grams of carbohydrate pre, during, and post, but, enough so you've able to keep that metabolic output, you're able to work hard, and then you've got the nutrients on board to help recover, and the amino acids from the protein to back it up, to really help that amino acid repair, which sort of speaks to what Jo was talking about with her DOMs being split in half with protein. Kathy, just one last question. You mentioned 160 grams of cooked meat, which is very aligned with the amounts that we have in the program.
Yeah.
And this may be not just a question for you, but anyone, like, was that a big amount of cooked meat initially? Have you normalized it? Has anyone got any, I'm curious about that, because a lot of people are like, whoa, that's a lot. And I'm just curious as to what it was like.
Mickey, I've probably why I was always a little bit overweight. I've always been a big eater, and I enjoy meat. I enjoy chicken. So for me, it was like more about making sure that I wasn't having too much.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Becky, I'll just say about the protein. Initially, when I started Mondays Matter, it seemed like a lot, but now I'm looking at going, I'll reweigh it sometimes going, that doesn't look like it's enough. And I'm really disappointed. Yeah. So, and I think when you get into it, like I can get to the end of the day and I've had like 140 grams of protein or something. And I'm like, like it doesn't feel like I've had that much, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm
For
me,
it was
aspect, it was the additional protein at breakfast and lunch, because breakfast had traditionally been so kind of high carb by the time you've maybe had some porridge or some toast or something like that. So for me, it was the change of getting the protein into the other meals of the day rather than, say, dinner.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I agree, exactly the same. I feel like at one portion of that I probably have normally, but the fact that it was over that 3 meals I was having the protein, I did find that quite hard to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one. Thank you. Claire.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Hi.
So I think I'd followed you on Instagram, and I don't know, keep one eye on things, but basically I was probably hitting quite rock bottom in terms of health. I'd had a period of being on steroid pills. I had all manner of things, snoring, knee pain. I had been diagnosed with a form of macular degeneration, and basically didn't have many options. So I was, clutching at straws, as you do. What else can I try to, fix this? And I was, really getting into my hiking and tramping, and carrying 20 kilos plus, a 12 to 14 kilo pack is not much fun, I can tell you. So so it's been a couple of years now, and I have lost best part of 20 kilos. I still feel like I'm learning, so things don't always stick or get ingrained, but I still try to follow the principles. So I guess I'm still would like to lose more weight, and so I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm floundering at the moment, but I'm just not in the right space. So that's where it's great. Like Mickey's just got so many resources, and she tells it like it is. I just that honesty. It's just like, people say, oh, can I do this? And it's just like, you can, but I always appreciated that. But at the same time, it was always supportive. So the daily kind of check-ins, or however that looked at the time, just the wee messages. It was just like, hey, because I remember starting and thinking, oh, look, just maybe give it a week or 2 or 4 weeks or something, and then by then it'll be spring and you can just do your own thing. And actually just sort of, I remember spending a week kind of, whether I had to be so, strict, but, going out and buying a blender and whatnot, you know, and getting some of the basics in the pantry, what have you. Yeah, it just was sort of like one day at a time, and the kilos just sort of dropped off, you know, without thinking about it too much. And the thing about people are like, oh, it's so low calorie, but if you tune in, you realize actually I am full from eating that protein. So that was one thing. Like I didn't struggle with the fasting days. It was like, okay, breakfast, yeah, actually it's about lunchtime now, or maybe I could push this another half hour because I still feel full. And sort of you just got to kind of put yourself first and tune in a bit with yourself, and see, are you actually hungry or not? And yeah, I've probably rambled, Mickey. I did say.
No, you didn't at all, Claire.
Yeah.
I'm like a couple of things with that. What I really liked what you said is that you sort of bargained with yourself, right? I'll do it a week. I've got a couple of weeks, or it's one day at a time. Like often people put a lot of pressure on themselves to have everything dialed in. So the 8 weeks or the however long the program is just going to go super smoothly, you know, like in their head, this is what, you know, they've sort of got to do it. But I really liked that you sort of just thought like short term. And I think that's sort of how you have to do it, because everything is overwhelming. Anything's overwhelming if you put such a big sort of pressure on to sort of forecast ahead so much longer in the future.
Yes. And the thing with that though is because yeah, I got down, I remember, to the end of that first 8 weeks, and I signed up for another one. And I think we must have been approaching Christmas, and you know, you always get those tricky things popping in. But you know, the way, like, say, it's just a small thing, but like my workplace, we don't have a big morning tea culture, but once a month we celebrate all the birthdays in the office, you know, with a morning tea shout. And you know, it's like, as everyone has said, it's just food. It's going to be there, you know, but you don't have to have it. You know, so I go ahead and make myself a coffee, and I've got something in hand. I'm still being social. I'm not missing out. You know, it's just food. So, because it's not necessarily healthy food that's provided. So, yeah, and I can say that it's not, you know, that is a fair thing to say. But anyway, yeah, but what I found is, you know, I'd sort of got to the point, and for myself, in terms of previous weight loss, I'd gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, well, this is where I normally get to. But you've sort of got to, you know, and I was honest with myself. I'm like, this isn't necessarily ingrained or whatever, you know, a different way or a new way of eating, looking at food. But yeah, so I went on to lose another 10 kilos. So, you know, I'm still in that grey space where I don't know who this kind of person is, who's 10 kilos lighter, somewhere just shy of her high school weight, you know, kind of thing. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's clear that I was actually just looking at something just the other day where people, you know, when you do lose a substantial amount of weight, it isn't just the people around you who can struggle with it, because some people around you can struggle with it, but you know, that whole your identity can be wrapped up in the person that you were, not, or the bigger body that you were in, I guess. And I think that some people do struggle with body dysmorphia, or, you know, it's a very real, I don't know if I should call it that, because I think that's probably a diagnosable term, and I don't mean for it to sound that way, but just that sort of unrecognizable sort of person. Claire, you mentioned that you're floundering a little bit right now. Is it winter? Is it work stress? Can you sort of pinpoint?
Yes. So, like, yeah, I guess I could see myself, I'm slightly slipping towards that exercise because I'm active. You know, I walk, there's a Trampine walk 1,200 kilometers in a year, and I'll generally would finish that by October. But, you know, so I walk in the mornings, I might walk on my lunch break, and I gym sort of 2-3 times a week in terms of weight. But, you know, it's so easy just to go, oh, I'll just rely on that exercise. But actually, if I was really harshly honest, it's like, you know, I was doing fine without like my workplace also has a cookie jar, so you can go to the pantry and fill up the cookie jar any old time, so that the hens go back in the cookie jar. I sort of stopped because I think that's a key thing that really does work, is if you can knock off any sort of snacks in between meals and things. Apart from if you're training and you need your serve of carbohydrate or protein, however that looks. So for me, I think it would be the excess snacking and things. But I am giving myself a little bit of grace, just a little bit at the moment. Having knee issues again, so I'm seeking help for that. But yeah, it's just a bit of winterism, definitely. Christchurch, so yeah, freezing, So,
Yeah.
but try not to let that become the full-time thing. And the other thing is, I actually haven't jumped on the scales in a while, so yeah.
And and not that I'm trying to troubleshoot here for you, but I sort of sound like I am. That could be the first, like if you're like, right, now it's time to sort of, want to draw a line in the sand, maybe I jump on the scales, because they are, or do some other sort of self-monitoring thing, or even keeping a food journal, Claire, where you're not tracking per se, because we don't track calories or anything like that. I mean, of course you can, but it's, that's not what the program is about. Sometimes even having that food journal means that if you're writing down a cookie or a protein shake pre-exercise, you probably much prefer to write down that you had a protein shake rather than a cookie. And the one other thing I'll say is even, I don't know how often this is happening for you, but if it's an everyday thing, maybe just start with start next Monday by not having anything, and then bargain with yourself that every second day you're not going to have a cookie. If it's not happening every day, then whatever. But little things like that, like using your little guardrails that we were talking about before, your little time things for something like this, that can be helpful. No,
Definitely. It's I don't know, just I think it's I've sort of spoken with you before about wanting to lose more weight, and I'm sort of on that cusp of, so that and I know you don't, not necessarily like that, but it's just so that I've got those few kilos, in the bag, but sort of up my sleeve, if that kind of makes sense, or as a backup, kind of, just when you
it does make sense, and lots of people like to have that in their mind, whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, no, just be your usual awesome self, and then if you happen to gain a kilo or two, that's okay, because you know how to get it off, and you're not wasting your precious muscle. Is my thing.
Oh, and so sorry, just the other thing is just the muscle, really retaining that muscle, using the protein and lifting the weights at the gym is awesome. Like I don't think I'm too vain, or not that it's a vain thing, but just seeing the definition in the arms.
Very cool.
I've got a girlfriend friend, and I always admired her arms, and now I'm like, well, actually mine aren't looking too shabby, so yeah.
Nice one, Claire. You just have to wait to spring so you can get them out again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Chris.
Nikki, sorry, can I just jump in? I've got to go off because I've got to go.
Of course, Kathy. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Can I just add one thing to all of this? I'm like Claire a bit. I've been floundering a bit with winter. It's so bloody cold. It's hard to get out. And it was a bit of a struggle fest. But when getting your emails that we get daily sometimes, or weekly or whatever, I always find that's a bit of a sort of poke the bear for me. Like I go, oh, this is so true. Everything you say just adds such value. And then I see that and I go, yes, I can do this. I need to get back on. So those emails that you send out are just absolutely fantastic with regard to inspiring, and that whole wagon thing that isn't there, but we sort of talk about, gets you back onto it. And as you say, if you just take it day by day, things start to fall into place, and that habit then becomes your daily process.
Kathy, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing your experience, and best of luck with the physio. Hope it's not worst case scenario. Do keep me updated.
I will. Thanks, Mickey. See you
all.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye.
Hi, Chris.
Hi there. So my story is probably a bit different from everybody else's. I first came across you, Mickey, on social media a few years ago after a friend had mentioned you. And I didn't actually have much weight I particularly needed to lose. I was maybe carrying a couple of kilos more than I should have been, just snacking and chocolate like most of us, I guess. But I'd also started following Stacey Sims as well. So between the two of you, I became aware of the need to eat a lot more protein than I probably was. And I've been following you, say, on Facebook, and I'd gone on to the portal and used some of your free recipes and stuff in it. But then 2 years ago, I'd been back to Scotland for a visit, and I'd actually done a round the world trip. So I'd gone to see some friends in Canada, then gone to Scotland, and then stopped off in Bangkok on my way back. And then Perth, and I was away for about 2 months. And over that time, I had obviously put on some weight because I wasn't able to exercise as much as I normally do. I'm normally very active, weight train at the gym 4 or 5 days a week, would mountain bike at weekends and a couple of times during the week as well in summer. But obviously couldn't do any of that while I was away. And so I was thinking, right, maybe now's the time to actually follow your program. And back here at the beginning of October 2 years ago, so it was just after you were starting kind of the pre-Christmas one. And so I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll give it a go. And I missed the beginning of it because I was still away. But one of the things I loved, and I still love, is the variety of breakfasts. It's like, I mean, I ate pretty well, but my breakfast, I was just a creature of habit. And I made my own granola, which is fairly healthy as far as granolas go, or winter it'd be porridge and so on. But I knew that was definitely lacking in the protein. And like some others have said, some of your the bakes are just brilliant. I love it. But at the moment, I'm just living on the high protein oats every morning because it's so flipping cold in Christchurch. But I love the variety. And similarly to some of the others, I was surprised by actually how much protein, particularly say with chicken, you can get in the volume you can eat under, still keep under a small amount of calories, but feel really satisfied on. And so I probably followed it for about 6 weeks because I missed those first 2. But even in that time, I noticed I'd lost my chocolate craving and my evening snack habit had disappeared completely. I thought it was great. And I mean, I'd say I didn't actually have that much weight to lose, but I was, I got to lower weight than I'd been in ages. And so since then, again, I just sort of followed along on social media. And then a wee while ago, I took out your membership program. So I've actually been doing that loosely for the last wee while. So again, it's kind of the breakfast and lunches I tend to follow, and dinners, because at the time I was living with my partner and we split the cooking. So I would cook something of yours the days it was my cooking, and on his days I'd just eat whatever he was cooking. And he was a relatively healthy cook, so it was fine. But the reason I'm now again following it slightly more strictly now, for starting, I'm living back by myself again, which is fine, but it means I can cook what I want to cook all the time. But my spine is pretty buggered. So I've been away back to Scotland again just recently, but I couldn't really do any exercise because I could hardly walk anywhere. I couldn't walk for more than a few minutes. So I lost a lot of fitness, and of course I couldn't be strength train either. So I was trying to keep up on the protein. But now that I'm back home, I actually had back surgery a week ago, just over a week ago. And so again, I still can't do a lot. And in fact, I got a bit carried away yesterday and have now, I think, really inflamed the muscles around where my bone graft is taken from. And it's just like, so now I can't do anything. But I think, at least I've got your program to follow. I know it's good. I know it's going to have high protein. It's the best thing I can possibly follow to help my body, help keep me satisfied, keep me away from the chocolate. It's such a great variety of food that you can eat from it. And I say the ability to be able to mix and match is great as well. So if I don't particularly fancy whatever the breakfast is, fine, I'll just go and take out one of my other favorites, and I know it'll work. I have to admit, miss a lot of the recipes I used to cook. I'm a recipe book addict, and I just love trying new recipes, which is why I'm thinking next time you offer it, I might move on to the your masterclass thing about how to actually make it work for you.
Yes. Yes.
I'm actually now more interested in doing that. Last time you'd offered it, I was just way too busy. I think I was just about to sell my old house and I just had far too much on my plate. I knew I wouldn't be able to dedicate the time to it. But now I'm thinking that would actually be really good because I'd love to start reintroducing some of the stuff I used to have, or even just the array of cookbooks I've had, just make a bit more use of them and just sort of fit them into this methodology.
Absolutely, Chris, and I think, and if you ever get a recipe and you're like, oh, I love that, and you're not sure quite how it fits, absolutely feel free just to screenshot and send it through. Like I will easily go, okay, just do this thing and this thing, and it'll largely, or do these couple of things in your earlier meals, and actually it'll come out good. I'm so sorry about your back. That's
thank you.
Yeah, how long? What's the prognosis? Like, how long until you get back?
Yeah, how long's a piece of string? I need to go easier. I'll say I've been getting a bit carried away. There's some things I'll never be able to do again. Like I'm not going to be able to do the downhill mountain biking I used to do, which is very sad. But I will at least be able to get back into doing cross country mountain biking. And ironically, I might be able to start running again. I had to give up running about 3 years ago. But I basically had the 4 bottom vertebrae fused. And so the stability that's given it, and the fact that now my bones aren't banging off each other, means actually in a couple of years I might be able to run again. I don't know. But it's gonna be a few months before I'm back even doing the weights I was doing before. But I'm looking at it actually a bit like the eating plan, really. I'm looking at it in the long term.
Yeah.
It's like I couldn't carry on as I was. I couldn't even walk anywhere, and I was having to adapt even my weightlifting. So and it was just only going to get worse, and it was taking really big nosedives like every now and then. So I had to do it, and I know it'll be worth it in the end. It's just going to be a long road out the other side. But keeping the protein up and blood sugars level and trying to, that'll help keep the inflammation down, all of which is only going to help. It's just definitely the right route to be taking.
100%, Chris. And for what it's worth, sometimes I don't know, I feel as an athlete, when you are sort of not at rock bottom but you're down there, it's almost, you can sort of reframe it as it's going to be a great opportunity to get your fitness back, and you really don't take for granted that what you can do once you begin to do it. Not that we mean to take it for granted when we're healthy and well, but often that sort of or at least for me, I often appreciate it so much more when I'm coming back from injury.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's something that I'd noticed just before I went away. I was teaching spin classes once or twice a week at that point, and I'd noticed that over the last couple of weeks I ended up having to give it up. It was probably the one thing I could do. I could hardly walk in, but luckily I could still ride the spin bike. But I was suddenly really, really struggling to do it at the intensity that I'd been doing even a couple of weeks earlier. So it's the training program is based on your FTP, so that everybody's working to the same sort of level of their own fitness. And so I'd already turned my FTP on the bike down so that it was easier for me to hit the levels that I was telling my class to hit. But even then, I couldn't get to 120 RPM for more than 10 seconds, and I was really struggling. And I think a lot of that was just my body was saying enough. It's just like my back was in such a mess. It was just like not letting me do it anymore. So you say about that kind of hitting rock bottom, I'd got to that stage where I couldn't do half of what I wanted to do in any sort of level of intensity. So it's going to be interesting to see once I'm out the other side and I'm able to start building it back up again. Hopefully I'll get it back, so I'll notice the improvement again quite quickly, because I just dropped it off so quickly. It was quite alarming. But it'll be interesting to see.
It really will be, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And make sure you're adding in collagen a couple of times a day. Like, you've got nothing to lose from adding just even a couple of 20-gram serves. And particularly in the healing bit, it can help with some inflammation, some tendon healing, particularly if you've got some vitamin C alongside it as well. So, but message me if you've got questions and I can help. Nice one.
Awesome, I will do, and I'll do that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Steph, lucky last, you've been so great just sitting there and listening. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Kia ora. Good to be here. I was really, really cynical. I had paid money for programs that were sort of those sort of, I now realize, sort of off the shelf, and then it's like you need to eat oysters or what, just something truly bizarre and quite rigid. And I'm a real all or nothing person, or I have been an all or nothing person, a perfectionist, I think. So hugely frustrated to, sort of fall off the wagon of different programs, but things that just were really hard to sort of follow or weave into your everyday life. So I was looking for something that was evidence-based, like the others, sort of spent some time sort of having a look to see what was on offer here. Fortunately, it's matched up to what I was hoping. Just really, really practical, really easy, with your sort of authentic coaching, Mickey, and the daily sort of reminders. And it's not overbearing. It's just there as like a prompt or a reminder, and it just helps with consistency. And so for me, having the access to the recipes can sort of help to, if I feel like something in particular, to sort of meet it that way. And then it's been really good to develop my favorites. So I love the blueberry smoothie, and it's a good way to get my collagen in, and all of the other sort of goodies. And then I feel really well set up for the day. And also I'm floundering too. I'm sick. I've got work stress, heaps going on with my kids. I'm hosting a 10th birthday party tomorrow with 12 kids. And I'm the bottom of the priority list. But I'm trying to be different, and I'm trying to carve out that time for me. But what I do know, and what I found out from the first Mondays Matter Accelerated that I did, is if I follow the program, if I do the at-home workouts, and that's not going to the gym, and following a big scheme, it's literally following along. I need someone to show me so I can follow along. I can use what I have. And it's only 20 minutes or 25 minutes. I need to remember it will warm me up, yes. Especially at this time of year, and the combination of the movement, and the meals, and the coaching, I just think is just a wonderful combination that helps. So when I first did Mondays Matter Accelerated, I saw the scales move for the first time in many, many, many years of trying different things. I've been a runner on and off, so I think, I was trying calorie deficit, but then I was trying to fuel my body, or sort of working out more, and again, sort of getting more hungry as a result, whereas the protein is really just such an easy way to like set yourself up to stay full, to not be wondering about snacks. In fact, I look forward to my electrolytes as sort of like something sweet, and it also helps keep my sweet tooth at bay. So I will sign up for Monday again, because I need to prioritize myself. I know that it works, and I've it'll take me 3 days to get rid of my sugar addiction. Yes. And then once I'm back on, I'm going to feel really good about myself. And 8 weeks is just such a really good amount of time to just, trial and error, and trying new things, having the egg white in my smoothie. All I taste is the blueberry, and the vanilla that powder. So I think this is just such a healthy thing to be part of, and something that really, even when I'm floundering or off the wagon, I'm aware. I know what I'm doing. I know what I could be doing, and so it's something that really stays with me, and something that I know that I can, if I focus on it, or if I prepare and set myself up, then I am going to be successful.
Yeah, Steph, 100%. And I like how you sort of framed that, it takes you a good sort of 3 days to get over that sort of the initial hump, and then sort of get into it. And I often talk about the program as, you know, like you've got, it's the instructions are there right from day one. What you need to do is there for the entire 8 weeks, but you do spend a good, if you're new to it or you're just coming back to it, then it's very, then, you know, the first few weeks can feel a little bit like it's new, but then after that, it is really just the process of just putting, you know, 1 week after the other. And I think it's the grind is sort of what it feels like, but that's actually just what it is. So regardless of what you do, it will always, it will lose its novelty factor. So you sort of got to be in it for I guess that's when having the group and the community can be really helpful, because that sort of keeps you engaged when actually your brain is sort of wandering over to the Amway diet or whatever this thing is that your friends lost 20 kilos on in 8 weeks or whatever. Sort of sticking in for the long haul is hard, albeit it is only 8 weeks. So yeah, I think, and I agree with you, I think it is a decent amount of time to give something a good go and to see whether it sort of works out for you, because of course not everyone loves it, but I've got a really, you know, a crew of amazing people who really just believe in it, and as I still do, that's why I still run it. That's why I'm as enthusiastic now, more so than I was when I sort of kicked it off back in 21. Nice. You guys, you're amazing, because I said that was going to be 15 to 20 minutes and look at us an hour later. Thank you so much for that. And if you need to jump off, please absolutely do. Yeah. I've got some questions that I want to answer because people submitted them, and I'm just, because this is recording, I will do that. But if you need to jump off, no problem. Really appreciate you guys being here and sharing your experience. It was, it's always lovely to, of course, it's always lovely to hear lovely things from people about something you created, but equally, I know from our conversations over the months/years that that this has been of value as well. So I appreciate your time, you guys. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Nikki. Bye.
So the other questions I have, so I had a Google form that people submitted questions on, and I just want to answer these because they took the time to do that. So the first one says that she's feeling like she let herself go and she's keen to get back on track. And she's got a lot going on with a new job, 3 kids and a new puppy. She does my food bag. So she would love to hear any tips on how I can do Monday's Matter without cooking extra as we are time poor. Guys, I would never want you to cook an extra meal if your family does something like my food bag or HelloFresh or anything like that. And it is completely workable within that, because you're largely, for most of the meal, like 2/3 of your meals are accounted for with that, with the plan, and that one meal is neither here nor there. The one thing I'll say about my food bag is in other meals, they're better now than what they were, but they can be a bit lower protein. And I think that's the only thing. Like, we are covered on breakfast and lunch, which is great. If you had the opportunity to cook up some more meal prep chicken, dare I say it, at the start of the week, it seems to be the easiest thing that the people can do, then you can sort of add that to it. If you've got my food bag meal, which is particularly carb heavy rather than protein focused, and then if that is the case, because I do know they give nutritional information, if they sort of blow out the calories a little bit on that meal, you can always eat less of that and then bump it up with a little bit of your chicken prep. But even if you didn't do that, I honestly, like, that dinner meal is neither here nor there, because you've got those other 2 meals sort of focused. Someone else said that they completed the accelerated in Feb, and she's found it hard to stabilize the weight she lost, and she would like to shed a few more kilos without worrying about losing muscle mass. And she's struggling with keeping to that previous menu because it was based in summer, and she's really wanting warmer meal options. Would this program be suitable as a kickstart to get her into the swing of things? And does it have meal ideas while we are having colder days? Yeah, so I do the plans, I create them every time, and I make them seasonal to New Zealand. So it is winter-based meals. There are a couple of smoothies creep in occasionally, and also at the back end of the program as we're headed more into spring. But there are a lot, they're more based on veggies and protein, and definitely more warming. And I would say it's really normal to, if you do something for 3 weeks, it's hard to, even if you've only got a couple of kilos to lose, it's probably not long enough to establish habits. So I'm just seeing your note, Jen. Thank you so much. It's not long enough to establish sort of lasting habits, I would say. So it's more probably about getting those other days set up for you, and that's where Mondays Matter is great, because the whole plan is structured rather than just those protein sparing days. So I would say this would be perfect. Someone wants, how much food prep is involved? So there is definitely food prep involved, and it tends to be particularly heavier at the start of the program, because I do a lot of those meals that we then pop into the freezer and you pull out if you're freezing meals and pulling them out. If you're cooking for a family, obviously you're not going to do that. So there, I do make prep suggestions. And I mean, the reality is that a good diet doesn't happen by accident. Like, it's very difficult to eat well if you're not set up. And often we blame willpower and discipline, when actually we just don't have those resources available to sort of bring out of our fridge. So so some weeks are more meal prep heavy than others, and it's generally at the start of the plan. But also once you have, the decision is taking out as to what to eat. And I think for a lot of us, that saves a lot of mental burden and time of even thinking about it, because it's already there in place and you just have to sort of put it together. And as others said, you don't have to be an amazing cook to be able to do the plan. You just have to throw things together. So I struggle with the protein sparing days, not so much hunger, but I often feel weak and get a cracking headache. Am I not getting enough salt? Would something like a miso soup help at lunchtime? 100%. That sounds like a real electrolyte issue, hydration and salt. So as long as blood pressure is okay for you, I would pop in, like I mentioned, the salt shots and electrolytes morning and midday, just because it's normally you will develop that fatigue and that headache across a morning. And so you can prevent that by having the salt early and then having it again at midday. And miso soup is a great vehicle for that as well. My question is around having the protein sparing days and how that works for people who exercise and fitting those days in and around the exercise and taking recovery into account. And she exercises about 5 or 6 days a week. So essentially it's, I have a lot of people who are pretty active who do the plan actually. Nice one, Kelly. Thanks for being here. What I would say is it's a matter of timing. Some people can feel awesome and fine training on a protein sparing day, and some people really struggle, and then some people struggle the following day. And in my experience, those people who don't follow the guidelines of added nutrition tend to struggle more. So it's really important to eat more, as I lay out in the workbook, so you're fueling that session in and around that workout. And that's, and it surprises me that people don't think that, a CrossFit session or a strength-based session or some spin class was enough exercise to warrant additional food. The plan is so low calorie, it is definitely enough. So always know that you'll always have that it's always a good idea to add that in. It will never be a step back to sort of do it. But sometimes it's a matter of figuring out what suits best in terms of the protein sparing days for your training. Some people who do longer training, they need a couple of non-sparing modified fast days before they do those long sessions. So if that's you, then you would do 1 to 2 days, or even just one protein sparing day, and then the rest of the time you would just eat in accordance to the plan at tier 1, because we have different tiers. It is 100% manageable, and it's a matter of just sort of getting in and spending those first couple of weeks really just trying it on and seeing what works, and just expect to feel a little flat, because you will. and it's really normal. However, it's still that there is a transition period, and then you feel so much better. Like 99% of the people feel so much better. And the other thing I would say is, if you've only got like 5 or 6 kilos or something that you'd like to release, don't go on proteins, or don't go on tier 3 and have those 3 protein sparing modified fast days, because more isn't always more. So you're in it for the long haul. And you don't have, and even though I sort of base it on weight as an initial guide, even if you've got 15 kilos you'd like to release, but you're fairly active, like you probably, I would maybe even start at tier 2 and not do tier 3. Like it's not a race to the bottom. We don't have to lose all of the weight within 8 weeks, and that's not desirable either. She also asked if the program works effectively for people who don't live in New Zealand, because she's based in the UK. She wanted to know whether I provide a summary of the recordings in addition to the recording, which I do. And I would say that food accessibility is no issue. Like, there's so much globalization of our food supply. We all eat the same foods. There's just more variety overseas. So there's no issue with getting a hold of any of the ingredients. Someone wants to know if this would suit a carnivore of over 6 years who's also very affected by sugar or is a carb addict. So I guess I would say that it depends on why you went carnivore in the first place. Like, if you had massive amounts of food intolerances to plants and really struggled in that space, then it might be problematic for you, because the plan itself was very plant heavy outside of the protein sparing days. There's a lot of vegetables, salady type bits. There's some legumes, not a ton, but you might struggle a little bit with the digestion side of things. It's a low carb plan, and those protein sparing days, they have literally no carb, like maybe 20 grams. So that's not a problem there. But I would wonder whether the types of foods you might actually struggle a little bit with. So I guess the only way to know for sure is if you in fact just emailed me with a little bit more detail, and then I'd be able to give you a more specific answer. I would say that if you're looking for fat loss and you went to carnivore for fat loss and it's not working, then I'm pretty confident this would work, actually, because a lot of people who do carnivore really focus on those fattier cuts of meat, which are amazing, but they may not suit you in terms of being able to release body fat, because you're effectively eating more fat anyway. I have done Monday's Matter before and still use the recipes often. Are the recipes the same? No, they'll most of them will be different. Maybe a third of them will be the same, because there's just some favorites that people like, and so I tend to keep them in, but I do update the plans every time, create them from scratch, and also often dump a bunch of new recipes into the portal at the same time that are related to the plan. So I'm fairly confident there'll be loads of more variety. And the last question is, this is completely unrelated to the program, has any research been done on the effects of GLP-1s on eating disorders, specifically bulimia and binge eating disorder? Which is a really great question. So I didn't mind actually looking in and answering this, because I had an idea but wasn't sure. So there is a growing but it's still early body of research looking at both for binge eating disorder and risk for bulimia. There was a 2025 systematic review and meta-analysis. There were only 5 studies and 182 participants in total, actually. So very small body of research. And they found that people who were on GLP-1s produced greater weight loss and reductions in BMI and waist circumference, and they had improvements in binge eating scale scores, which is it's a scale that is used to assess binge eating disorder, indicating that there was reduced binge eating severity. And then in November 25, there was a narrative review that just looked at mechanisms, and it appeared, and I think we know this, that if you're on a GLP-1 receptor agonist medication, it does reduce that food-seeking behavior. So that sort of addictive style behavior, that reward, it does suppress that dopamine signaling in the reward regions of the brain. There are some individual studies looking at different types of GLP-1 receptor agonists, both older classes like liraglutide and duaglutide, and also the newer ones like semaglutide. And they're all consistently showing a reduction in both binge eating disorder and bulimia nervosa, but it's small and not always significant findings. The thing is with bulimia is that the evidence appears to be much thinner on the ground. And there is a mechanistic concern is that by slowing gastric emptying, because that's one of the mechanisms for GLP-1, they often cause nausea and stomach pain, which may increase purging behaviors like vomiting or laxative misuse. So that's a real thing that people should be mindful of. So I think that's worthy of note, but again, there's not a lot of research. And if you look at the, I looked at National Eating Disorder Association. This was based in the States, and they said that the few controlled studies showed mixed results. So there is a signal for use, but it's probably a case by case analysis and one that you look at with your physician. So nothing at all to do with Monday's Matter, but I thought it was useful to do it. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Joe, Chris, and Steph, really appreciate your attendance and hearing your experiences. And I'm so pleased that you're here despite the fact that it's, you know, as you said, you sort of go through waves, right? Like you flounder a little bit, then you come back up. But I'm just pleased that I'm and the program's a bit of an anchor. So that's, I think, really, that warms my heart, actually. So thank you so much. And to those others that have been on the call, thanks so much for listening. I'm going to put this recording out and enjoy the rest of your day. So just so you know, if you're listening back, the program registration closes Sunday and we kick off Monday. But yeah, really great to see you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Mickey. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Mickey.
Bye, team.